Welcome to All Out in the Open. I'm Ben Schilaty, and I know we aren't supposed to have any empty chairs, but today we have an empty chair because Charlie sadly couldn't make it today. But I am joined today by my friends Emily and Spencer, and we're talking about the Gather Conference. The Gather Conference is Christ-centered support for LGBTQ people and those who love them. It's going to be, the conference will be this June 27th and 28th in Provo, Utah. This is our third year. The last 2 years we've had over 1,000 people come, and it is such a wonderful experience. And we are very excited to have another All Out in the Open live event that Friday night. So come join us for that. If you want to learn more about the conference, you can go to gather-conference.com. That's gather-conference.com. And listeners to the podcast can register for a 20% discount. And that discount code is all out. Just one word, all out, ALLOUT. And I can't wait for you to hear from my friends Emily and Spencer and the experiences they've had at Gather. Emily, Spencer, so excited to have you guys here today.
Happy to be here.
We are excited.
Well, I want to know who you are. So, Emily, could you just tell us a little bit about you?
My name is Emilee. I am a mom. I'm a wife. I have a son who came out as gay about 3.5 years ago. And it has been a blessing in my life.
All right. Can I ask you some questions about that?
Yes.
All right. What was it like for you when your son came out? How did that happen?
Wow. So I grew up in the church. So I was born and raised in the church. I raised my kids in the church. We did everything that we were supposed to be doing. And my son had gone on a mission. So I guess a little bit about context. I was very homophobic, a very homophobic mom.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard all the stories. And in 2018, he was going to go on a mission. So we did our little family vacation and we went to Boston. It ended up being Pride Week in Boston. And it was Pride Night at Fenway Park the night we went, which I was a little bit out of my comfort zone with my cute little family. The next day or a couple of days later, we were walking down the Freedom Trail and my husband said, "What are you going to do when one of our boys come out?" And I said, I am so glad we never have to go there.
So your husband was uncomfortable with your quote-unquote homophobia?
Well, apparently.
Okay.
My husband is very wonderful, though. Like, I don't know how he does it, but he is great and has been very open with everything. So my son, he goes on his mission. We send him off. And he came home in 2020 and he went away to school. He went up to Utah State. And how much do you want me to tell you? I'm like,
Keep going. This is great stuff.
In September, him and his dad and his brother, they went and did a little senior trip because no one could do anything during COVID. So they did a senior trip. The next day I went to work. My son was going up to Utah State. He went in to talk to my husband, and then he didn't. He sent him a text, says, "Hey, I need to talk to you." So my husband's like, "Oh, we just said goodbye, but sure." He goes and he meets him outside to his car. My son rolled his window down just a little bit, and he says, "I think I'm a little bit gay." Rolled his window up and went to pull out of the driveway. And my husband's like, "Hold on, wait. For about 2 weeks, my son wouldn't answer the phone call, no text. He wouldn't talk to his dad. And he said, "Can I tell your mom?" And she says, "No." So my husband has this secret that he cannot tell me that he kept for 6 weeks. We did family pictures in that time. We went on hiking. It was like all this stuff, but he could not tell me.
And you had no idea this was happening?
No, I had no idea. No idea.
Shout out to your husband for keeping the secret.
Oh, yeah. But it was okay. It was okay. But so then about 6 weeks later, it was my husband's birthday. Son comes home. They were getting stuff ready. He had a Friendsgiving that night that he wanted to make a cheesecake. My husband makes wonderful cheesecakes. I should have brought you one.
I mean, please, that sounds delicious. Next time.
Because it was coming, I'm like, I should have brought them something. I have nothing for you. But so he was making a cheesecake, and my husband, he opened up to my husband, and they were able to have a really good conversation. It ended up being my husband's birthday. That night we went outside. My husband was kind of weird, but he's like, "Let's go outside and sit by the fire pit." Okay, great. And he's like, "Do you want to know what we were talking about?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? What were you talking about? What were Braxton and I talking about?" And he told me, he said, "Your Braxton is gay." I completely lost it. I think the neighbors probably called the cops on me because it in my head at that time, it was the worst thing that could ever happen to me.
And when you say you lost it, like, what does that
Oh,
look
I
like?
was
Paint that
probably
picture.
like just crying. Not necessarily, I don't think I was screaming, but I was crying. I was
Mhm.
very physically upset. So I went to my favorite place, which is my closet, which is pretty uh, good, closet. I went to my closet and hid in my closet and I cried and cried. And it wasn't until I calmed down a little bit, my husband came in and he could tell me the rest of the story that he had found out that my son was happy. He was in a good place because that was my worry too, is what does the future look for like? What does it look like for you? Um, I have in the back of my head of what I thought it would look like. My son was happy. He was in a healthy relationship with someone else where I thought he would be alone, and he was really doing well. And I was at peace then, um, and I was okay. There's been a lot of, things I've had have worked out in my head and different things of working out. Um, but once I knew he was not alone, I was okay.
Yeah. Well, Emily, thank you for sharing that and for being so open and honest and vulnerable. I know it can be hard to say, like, I used to be this way and I have grown, and to let us see a bit of your past. And I have so many more questions about your story. And let's hear from Spencer, then the three of us can have a bit of a conversation. So, Spencer, tell us about you.
My name's Spencer Smith. I grew up in California. Moved to Utah when I went to BYU and then went on a mission. And then my family followed me here to Utah. I'm a pharmacist. Most of the time I say I'm a drug dealer, but that gets me in trouble sometimes.
People could easily misinterpret that.
Yes, and my sister loved to tell people that her older brother's a drug dealer and had some friends interested in my services, but not that kind. Came out to my parents September of 2020.
And how old are you now? And how old were you then?
I'm 32 now, so it would have been 27-ish, almost 27, somewhere in there. And yeah, life's been a roller coaster ever since.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us, like, what that was like coming out to your parents, what led to that?
A lot of anxiety led to that conversation. I logically knew my parents would be okay. I had some conversations and some experiences where I was like, it's going to go fine. Might not go great, but I know it's not going to be kicked out of the house like I know happens for some people. But even logically understanding that it was still the worst thing I've ever had to do. And I would go on Sunday dinners and I'd be like, today's the day. This is it. And then I would eat food and then I would get nauseous and then I would leave. For 6 months, I was trying. I'm like, if they could just like ask me about dating, but I'd shut down conversations about dating so many times that was a absolute untouchable subject. And so it just took me sitting down like, so we need to have a conversation and I don't know how to start. So here you go. And what's next? Because all I could think of was that first, like starting the conversation. So went well. There was a lot of learning for my family and me and how that was going to move forward. But we're here and things are good.
All right. What I'm hearing you say is there was this sense of, I want to have this conversation, but I do not want to start it. But I also don't want it to start, but I also want to have it.
Exactly. I was like, I have so much anxiety about this that I need to get it off my chest because I'm not a functional person anymore. But the thought of having the conversation makes the anxiety way worse. So you just had to like buckle up and throw yourself off the cliff.
Yeah. All right. So that was, about 5 years ago. How have things been for you in the year since? I know that's a pretty big question.
Very big question. Completely different in every way. When I originally came out, I told my parents, I'm the same person. I'm sticking with church. I'm not dating. That was my phrase that I used every time I talked to anyone. Staying active, not dating. Staying active, not dating. And I was like, I don't know how to stay active in a church that I can't find a way to fit these two pieces together. And also, not dating is now really lonely. And so I was like, well, people know this about me, but it's not going to change anything. I'm just not going to let this affect any part of my life. And then that wasn't working. And then I found ways through Gather Conference and things to get religion and orientation to kind of fit better together. And then I was like, oh, and dating could be an option, maybe. And have been warming up to that idea. So
Yeah. And where are you faith-wise these days?
faith-wise, church is sometimes hard, depending on the topics. But I've had some really good bishops, really good friends that have been super supportive. And so when a topic comes up that I'm just like, ooh, this one's a cringy one for me, I know who I can talk to and be like, hey, I just need to walk through, like, Sunday school was really hard today. Can we walk through what I talked about, and just, I want to say some things that I didn't feel comfortable saying in the lesson just to get it off my chest and work through that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I have a super supportive bishop. I teach Sunday school now, so I get to kind of guide those discussions.
You get to decide if the topics are hard or not.
Exactly. And it's been nice because a lot of the topics I've been able to approach in a way that I'm like, this is how, if I was in a situation, this is how I would want it talked about. And when comments start getting made, I feel like I'm a little bit more sensitive to, ooh, someone might be uncomfortable. We need to course correct. So it's been good.
Yeah.
For
Awesome.
you.
And how about for you, Emily? How have the last few years been since you first found out that Braxton was gay and then you felt that peace in your closet?
I've come out of the closet, obviously. So I'm sitting on your couch today. It's still hard. Some things are hard, and just finding a new normal. I tell me the question one more time.
Because
Like,
how have the last 5 years been? Like, how have things been since he came out?
it's been different. I guess I was serving as the Stake Relief Society president at the time, which I am very grateful because I could hide away, kind of, and I could guide. Like when I taught things that I was comfortable teaching, and so I liked that. I worked with wonderful people. My presidency was amazing and supportive. And it was kind of a one-on-one talking to them, but everyone was super supportive in that capacity.
So did you tell the people that you served with?
Yes, but not right away because my son didn't want anyone to know. So it was a process for him to kind of come out and tell us. And even he didn't ever do anything big and formal. I still have family that maybe I haven't told. So they'll find it all out here from me. But I'm sure that they do know.
Yeah.
But it's been a process. Coming and listening to stories, I was told to immerse and come to know those who are in the LGBTQ community, and just to know their stories. And that has helped immensely because what was put in my head growing up is not who these people are. And they are really, really great people. And I'm glad to be surrounded by them.
Yeah. Well, thank you for thinking we're so wonderful,
No,
Emily.
you
We
are.
think you're wonderful.
It's a privilege to be here today. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
you are amazing.
Well, thank you. I think you're amazing as well. So let's talk about the Gather Conference. How did you both hear about it? How did you end up there?
Go ahead.
I heard about it. I follow you and Charlie, and you guys were posting about it, and I was like, ooh, this sounds like something that is probably a good idea, but absolutely never in a million years do I want to go to something like that. And I was talking to a friend and mentioned that this conference was happening, and she suggested that I register for it. And if it comes time to go to the conference and I don't want to go, don't go. But she's like, I'll go with you if you want. Like, I'll be there. If you don't want me there, I won't be there. However you want to do it. But I think you should register. And so that night I registered and immediately started panicking about it. And so they sent out an email later about volunteering, and I said, yep, we're going to do that. That's going to be my safety net. I have a purpose. I'm kind of forced to meet people. This will be good.
That way you can like be there without having to like be like you have a thing to do.
Exactly. If things get a little intense, I can just go find a job somewhere. So yeah, volunteered, met a lot of great people. I was assigned to volunteer at the swag bag making night, which was 2 days before the conference, which defeated the entire purpose of volunteering at the conference. And so I was like, well, that doesn't help me at all. So I showed up early the first day to help register people and just kept volunteering to take on more jobs because that was my safe space. And Jordan Sharp, who's one of he helps organize it, he approached me at the swag bag and asked who I was, what my story was, and I had so much anxiety, I kind of snapped at him. It was just like, I'm just here, I don't want to be here, but I'm here. So, and we talked a little bit. And I remember at the very end of the conference, after kind of the whole experience, which I'm sure we'll talk about, I had another conversation with him, which was completely different than that snappy, I'm panicking, I don't know what to do. And being able to just sit down and talk about how crazy it was that a 2-day conference completely shifted my entire life and continues to send me in a trajectory that I never thought would happen. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to dig into that, but I want to hear how Emilee got there first. Emilee, how did you end up at the Gather conference?
So I was trying to remember of how I found out. I think it was Lift and Love on theirs, and I reached out to Braxton was dating a guy. Oh, he is still dating him, whose parents live in Eagle Mountain. So I was like, "Have you heard of this before?" And she's like, "I haven't." So I had no idea, but I was curious. So I was like,
So you saw on like something about it on Instagram.
yeah, just advertised on Instagram, and I was like, "What is this?" So I remember I did sign up to go, and on one of the Lift and Love stories was our Trek aunt had posted a story on there. So I was like connected with her a little bit.
What is a Trek aunt?
Well, on Trek, did you do Trek?
I did.
Did you do Trek?
I did.
I was a mom pa, and you have an aunt who someone in your family who comes in as your aunt on the Trek to help out. And so she was our aunt on there. And so I reached out to her and had talked to her a little bit, and she ended up going with her son. And so, but I like Spencer has seen the email to volunteer. I'm like, give me a reason to be there. Give me a purpose to be there. I don't think I can just walk through those doors on my own. But if I had a purpose to be there, I can do it. So I signed up and was able to go and help just carry things in and load them in. And I remember seeing Ben. I'm like, is that Ben? Oh my word, that's Ben.
It was me. Oh my gosh.
So I'm your biggest fan. It was incredible. There was a bishop. He had just been called up from Logan. He was there with his wife. Fabulous people. And he's like, how did you get to help? And I'm like, I just signed up. I'm here to sign up. And they were there. They have a son who's gay that was living in Florida. And he says, why are you here? Tell me your story type of thing. And I needed to find a balance. I needed to find a space centered in Christ in this community to bring them together.
Yeah.
And there it was right in front of me. Absolutely incredible to feel and to see. I could go on and on. It was amazing.
I'm so glad. And you both mentioned nervousness about going. What were those nerves? Like, what was that like nervousness telling you? What was it? Where was that coming from?
For me, I had never been in a space where like my family was accepting, but we didn't talk about it for a while. And so putting myself in a space where it's not only accepted, but like almost like lifted up and like praised seemed wrong because of everything that I grew up. I grew up in California during Prop 8 and had all kinds of things said from members of the church or people who weren't members of the church against the church. And I was kind of stuck in this awkward, like, I don't like either side of this right now. And so a place that could be Christ-centered and LGBTQ friendly did not make sense in my brain. And so I had no idea what I was walking into and if it was just so far out of anything I thought would be possible. And so new experience, kind of putting yourself out there. It was a really big first step. And I was hoping for littler steps, but
So Cena, to jump in, the fear was, I don't want this to be real, and this makes it real.
yes. And I'm going to have to figure out how to combine these two parts of my life, and apparently it's going to work. So
And before, the denial was an easier way to do it.
Exactly.
Well, it's just that first step walking through the door. So, like, it is who's going to be on the other side of the doors? What is it going to be like? Just the whole unknown, just an uncomfortable little space that you'd never been in before, where it was an amazing space to be in. I mean, people would probably just walk up to you and want to know your story and talk to you, where in any other given situation, you're not, it's not a comfort place.
Yeah.
It's not a comfortable spot where you feel like there's something wrong with you, where there, you are totally normal.
Yeah. I remember the very first LGBTQ event I ever went to was a conference like Gather, but in Arizona, just like Arizona specific. And I was, I don't know, 30. I think I was 31, and it was 2 hours away. I had to drive up to Mesa from Tucson. I didn't want to go by myself, but I also didn't want to bring someone along. And I mentioned to my friend Diana that I was thinking about going. She said, "Can I come with you?" I said, "Yes, of course." And then she went with me, and I was like so glad to have someone to go with me. And I also didn't want to go, but I wanted to go. And so we planned to leave halfway through to go to the temple because there was no temple in Tucson at the time. And we're like, well, we're driving all the way to Mesa. Might as well go to the temple. And I remember during the first few speakers, she kept leaning over to me and said, like, "Do you relate to that? Like, is that what it was like?" I'm like, yeah. Like over and over again, like, this is my story. This is the same thing. And then when we left, I was like, what did you think? And she said, "I need to gather my thoughts. Like, I don't know what to say yet." And then after we got to where we were driving to, I asked her again, and she just started crying. She said, "I had no idea it was so hard. I just want you to like be happy, and I'm here with you, whatever you need." And we didn't. I don't think we met anyone. Like, I didn't want to talk to anyone, but just that experience of I feel seen, and my friend sees me, and she's with me in my life. That really changed the world for me. Like, made my world so much better. All right. So, Spencer, you said that that going to the Gather conference in 2023 changed your life.
Yeah. So like I said, didn't think that there was a way to make these two big aspects of my life work together. And going to a conference that celebrated LGBTQ people and allies, and in a religious context, was everything that I didn't know I was missing. My mom ended up coming, and same kind of thing that you were just talking about with your friend, where she would just sit there and be like, "Is this how you felt?" And I'm like, more than I want to admit in a lot of situations. And just recognizing that there are people who are happily married in a same-sex marriage and still active, and there's wards that allow that and support it. And there's people who are single and living their best life as a single person, and that is totally, like, you can make that work. And there's so many different options, and everyone's had, like, there's so many different ways that people have connected with God. And for some people, it's still going to Sunday school and all of these things, and other people are like, "Ooh, yeah, sacrament meeting's good, Sunday school is hard, so I connect with God outside of a church building. I go on hikes, I go on out in nature," whatever it is. And recognizing that those all work, and seeing how many people are allies or family or in the community that are there to support each other.
Yeah. There's a sense of like, we're trapped. There's no way to move forward. And you got to see people who are moving forward in so many ways. I'm guessing it sounds like that gave you hope.
Yes.
Like, I can find a thing that works for me.
A lot of hope. And then we had a big board the first year at Gather where everyone was writing why they gather. And they just had sticky notes. And so I was reading through some of those. And
So people like I gather because.
Yeah, I gather because I want people to feel loved. Because Christ loves everyone, and things like that. And at the very end, I didn't want it to end. So I asked if there was anything I could do to help in the cleanup. And they asked me to go save as many of the sticky notes as I could. And so someone had pulled them all off. They were in big stacks, but they were all taped together. They were going to throw them away. So I'm like, no, let me take them. I'm going to try and take the tape off, get them organized. Which means I got to sit there and read all of them. And that's when Jordan Sharp came over and we were talking, and just like how incredible the conference was. And it's like, you're a completely different person. Like, I was so calm, so happy. Like, life was great.
Standoffish Spencer was now, let me help.
Exactly.
I want to leave.
And halfway through, I found a sticky note that my mom had written. And I didn't know that she had written one. And the fact that I didn't know that she had written it is what hit me the most, because she didn't write it to be able to like walk over and be like, hey, Spencer, look, I wrote, like, I support you. She just wrote it and put it on the board and didn't say a word. If I hadn't read it, I never would have known that she had done that. And so seeing her little sticky note, I was like, this is not her supporting me to show that she's supporting me. This is her actually supporting me. And I called her on my way home and I was like, you wrote a sticky note and put it on that board, didn't you? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, I know your handwriting. Out of thousands of sticky notes, I immediately was like, that's my mom. And that was a big turning point for me, because I was like, okay, this is not, she didn't come to this conference because she was obligated to and because she needed to show that she was supporting me. She came because she actually does. And that just kind of shifted. It had been a year since I came out, or a couple years. I had come out publicly right before the conference. But I was like, okay, they're like, this is okay. Like, I don't know what the future is going to look like, but we're good. And then jumped headfirst into the deep end, and here we are.
And you're still very involved in Gatherers.
Yeah, I think very involved.
Yeah. And what did that mean for you to like see, like have that experience, like seeing your mom's support at the conference?
It meant a lot. It was one of those, I know my mom supported me, but also in the back of my mind, it's like, they're just saying that. I feel like a lot of people struggle with feeling like people are nice to them out of pity, or like it's a front that we're putting on because I'm supposed to be supportive, so we're going to support you, even though in the back of my head I don't. And even though I knew my parents were supportive and loved me, that little thought in the back of my mind just doesn't turn off. And you can try and try, but it doesn't always work. And that did a lot for like that, but like background anxiety. Like, oh no, this is good. My mom is here. She supports me. She's in this space voluntarily, and I have used that a lot when I'm like, okay, this comment was just made and I'm getting really like panicky and stressed, and I can just look at my mom and she's just like, I'm feeling it too. Breathe. We're going to be fine.
Moms.
Yeah.
Oh, they're the best.
Yeah. So, I think that anxiety you mentioned of like, are people just saying this to be nice, or do they actually mean it? I think so many people can relate to that anxiety. And now you have your mom who, like, you've had this shared experience, she's with you. Yeah. And
I love that your mom went with you.
It's great.
yeah. So, Emilee, what did the conference do for you? What were some of the big moments for you?
Ooh, I just loved it. Was you walk in there and there was 1,300 people or so, and it was incredible. Just sitting next to these people, when they would sing the songs, the spirit that you felt in this setting that you didn't think really went together, kind of like you said, and it was there, and it came together, and Christ was there. You could feel his spirit. It was just incredible to walk in there and be surrounded in a place that we all fit in.
Yeah. And what did that do for you to feel like there are people like me? The spirit is here. What did that do for you?
Oh, I was not alone. A lot of times you feel so alone. Like in my ward that I am in, I don't know another mom. I know there are moms out there in my ward, but I don't know another mom going through what I'm going through. And so in this case, do you know how many moms I had sitting around me? It was wonderful to be in a space that you were comfortable in, and that they knew what you were going through, and you knew what they were going through and could relate to them. Best thing is sharing stories with one another, and everyone was eager to hear everyone else's stories, and it was the best thing.
Yeah. There's for the first conference, there's a song that was written for the conference by Janice Cat Perry called All Are Likened to God. And the first line is, Lord, do you see me? Do you know me as I am? I think that's what it is. And this is a place where you can be seen and known, where you don't have to explain yourself to anyone. Like I love diversity. I love getting to know people who have different experiences, but so nice to be with people where I don't have to explain myself. They just get it. And that's to me what like the space is. It's like I can just like I don't have to explain myself. I can just be with people who see me as I am.
And they're saying it and mean it. A lot of people, they a little say it, but do they really mean it? So it's incredible to go. I was a gather guide this last time.
What's a gather
A
guide?
gather guide, if I can, I was thrown in a last minute on the gather guide thing because it was another one. I'm like, give me a job to do.
So you were too scared to go almost too scared to go the first year, and the second year you're like, I'm gonna be a guide.
Yeah, but I wasn't it was still hard to go just because going by myself to go. So I needed another reason to go. And so I was paired up with a mom who I found out she may not have gone, except for I did reach out to her and met up with her. Um, so it's a gather guide is someone who is going new for the first time. And you sit with them, you walk around, you answer any questions you have. Luckily, the mom that I found friends there. And so she was able to integrate in another way with her friends there as well. But it's a small little world. Her son was friends with my son's roommates, and so they had actually hung out together and
Oh wow.
dates. So it was a fun little circle.
Yeah.
It's a small world that we live in.
So how many people are scared to go?
I think it's just putting yourself out there.
Uh-huh.
Do
Yeah.
you think most of them? I don't. I shouldn't say that they're scared to go, but I think there is that kind of hesitancy. But they should go. They should go.
Especially if it's a new thing. If you're a parent and your child just came out, or if you just came out, it's kind of a lot of anxiety because you've spent so long hiding that. And now you're going to a place where you can go and say you're an ally, but you're surrounded by people who are living their authentic lives. And it's almost, their authenticity is almost scary because you're like, you are not even a little bit ashamed of who you are. And it is kind of a culture shock at times, but also they're the nicest people. Like you said, when they ask you share your story, you know that they're not just like, yeah, like, how's your day? I'm not actually going to listen to anything you say. They're invested in hearing what you have to say.
Yeah. It's so interesting because last year at the conference, and we did this the last 2 years, and we're going to do this again. We have these like affinity breakouts on Friday afternoons where it's based on like whether you're a parent or an ally or LGBTQ or trans, and no one's told where to go. You get to choose where to go. And someone went who was like scared to go. She identifies as gay, and she was going to go to the ally one. At the last minute, she's like, nope, I'm going to go into the LGBTQ breakout. And then we ended up in the same group of 6. And I had met her before, like randomly. I was like, I know you from somewhere. And so we're chatting, and then we figure out how we know each other. And she said, and she told me she was an ally. And then after a minute, she's like, I'm actually not an ally. And I was so scared to come in. And what happened, she'd walked in late night, like we had an extra seat, and I like waved her over. And she's like, thank you so much for like waving me over, like sitting with us and or having me sit with you. And then like a few weeks later, we got dinner and had like the best time. But I think this fear of like I don't know if I'm ready to be seen. And then once you get there, it's like, okay, this is okay. Like I'm with people who are going through similar things. Like I'm with moms and dads. I'm with other, gay people in their early 30s, who are going through similar things. So what would you say to someone who's scared to go, who's like, I just need you to tell me the right thing so I go? What's that right thing?
Oh, they just need to sign up and go. They just need to do it. It's not going to be easy. And maybe at the last minute, you might not go and you might need a reason to get there. So you can always go early and help set up or do something, I'm sure. But I think just sign up and make sure you walk through the door and they won't regret it.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you, Emilee. How about you, Spencer? What would you say to these people who are scared?
You're not going to get rid of the fear. It's not, you can try, but if like, it's a terrifying thing, but it's also the best thing you can do for yourself. If you need a reason, volunteer. There's a link on the website. Come hang out with us. We'll both be there volunteering.
Are you both volunteering this year?
Am I volunteering?
Yes,
sir?
you are.
Okay.
I'm roping you in.
Spencer like helps manage volunteers now. So
Volunteering.
But there's so many ways to get involved and go to the lunch that they're doing beforehand or the dinner the night before. Go to these things where you're just going to be meeting people. I made some friends last year and hung out with them the whole conference. There are people there that are in the same situation that are looking for friends, and I still talk to a lot of the people that I've met through Gather.
Mm-hmm.
And as terrifying as it was to go the first year, and honestly a little bit the second year too, I am really glad I went, because looking at my life now, I am a lot more comfortable going to things like Gather or hosting gatherings now. It's things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the nicest way possible, suck it up. And just, there's that quote from a movie, it's the 30 seconds of insane courage.
Uh-huh.
Use that 30 seconds to walk through the door and talk to someone, and you'll meet so many people. So
yeah. And if you do end up going by yourself, like walk over to the volunteer table to start chatting with people. You know, everyone there is not only happy to talk, but like trained to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was funny. I don't, because you were at the welcome table also. And so you saw those, you could see in their eyes. And that was one of my favorite parts, though, is letting them know, hopefully they got a little bit of, you're okay. Like just being the first to welcome them in and hand them their swag bag. And you had the youth there last year, but you're doing it again this year. And that was really neat to see, really neat to see. But some of those teens didn't have a parent necessarily with them either. And that was good to see too, like just the support and love and that you can offer to them. So I think that's why I would go this year, is because hopefully there's someone that I can at least help there to feel comfortable and in a safe spot.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I know that since you talked about this moment reading your mom's sticky note, what other moments from the conference over the last year stand out to you too?
For me, this last year, I was a lot more involved with the volunteers. I was helping Liv, who runs all the volunteers. So I spent a lot of time outside of the actual conference, which I was a little bit bummed about, because there were a lot of I was like, oh, that would have been a good thing to hear. My parents came out and told me all about it. I'm like, oh, that would have been fun. But standing out in the hallway, I got to talk to people. And so I talked to parents and their experience with their kids coming out. I talked to people who are like, this is something that is so far out of my comfort zone, and just got to hear their stories. And for me, that was my favorite part last year, was just getting to listen to people's stories and hearing how their life worked out so that they ended up at the Gather conference, and the weird little things that got them in a place where they were comfortable with it. And then people would walk up to talk to us and would recognize someone, like, I didn't know that you would be here. And it's like a little bit like, ooh, I just kind of accidentally outed myself. But also, if you're going to accidentally out yourself, you want to do it at a conference full of people that are there because they love and support you.
Yeah.
And so the little moments where I got to talk to people and share my story or hear their stories, that was my favorite thing last year.
I love that.
And I guess mine was a little different, because I this time literally went all by myself. The year before, I had this other mom. There was another couple from our ward. I actually got a member of our state presidency went the first year.
Wow.
And a member of the State Young Women's Presidency. So that was fun to have them there in that conference. So this year I was alone, but I got to sit by Ben's dad. And if you get
What a dream.
it is seriously.
Your dad is the best.
He is the neatest man. And I think he intentionally sits himself in the back all by himself at first. I really do, but maybe that's just me. But he was by himself in one of them, just sitting there. I'm like, so he came up and he sat by us. But I also had the privilege of sitting next to this young mom. And she was from out of state. She was there with her daughter, and hearing her story. And there was, I think it was Michael Soto was speaking, and it was it was a hard talk to kind of listen to.
Yeah, it was heavy.
It was a very heavy, hard thing to listen to. And the young mom that I was sitting next to had a difficult time, and I was able to be there with her in this time and hopefully be a comfort to her. So that was neat. Is not necessarily there for myself, but there for somebody else.
Yeah. That's so funny. You're sitting next to my dad.
Oh, I love your dad.
I've sat next to him plenty in plenty of situations, and it's a joy every time.
But he's great. He wants to know everything about you. and your story, but I did kind of pry a little bit about him, and so it was very neat. But I didn't have that opportunity in my first year,
Yeah.
so
So fun. And my dad's coming again this year. So if you want to meet my dad, and my sister's coming too.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
exciting.
it'll be her first time coming. So I know. So
look
great.
forward to that.
She supports her little brother. So
I love that.
yeah. So what I'm hearing you guys say is if someone's nervous to come, bring a friend.
Yes.
Bring a leader, bring a neighbor, bring a friend so you don't have to come on your own.
Yep.
All right. And if, yeah,
I'm
Spencer.
gonna say, and if you don't have a friend to bring, just come and hang out with me at the volunteer table. I will be your friend.
And that's not hard to find. Like just go by the table.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
So let's say someone doesn't want to just meet you at the table, like actually wants to get to know you beforehand. Like what's the best way people could contact either of you?
I think Instagram would work out great. I'm Emilee Cutler, Emilee, 2 E's.
2 E's, Emilee Cutler?
Yes.
Okay.
And Instagram's probably the best for me too, and it's Spencer David Smith. No fancy double E's or anything.
Yeah, extra E's in Spencer would be kind of silly.
Yes.
And what has been like the lasting impact of your experience at the Gather conference for either of you?
That's a good question. I think it's just the community, knowing that you are not alone because you walk in there with those other 1,000 other people and you're not alone. It can be a very isolating, lonely space of not knowing, who can I really talk to? Fortunately, I do have several in my corner. But knowing that you're not alone in a broad spectrum and in the church, there are others. We're there for you.
Yeah, you're not alone.
You're not alone. And Allison, I remember she said that. We're not meant to go through this alone. And so well, everybody says that, but she just talked about it in one of her talks too. And so that stuck out at me, but it's a community there. And I'll never forget the community, the people, and those that I was able to rub shoulders with during that.
Beautiful. I love that, Emily. Yeah, Spencer.
For me, I left and wanted to find a way to do more. Be more involved, keep this momentum that I got a crash course in 2 days. And a couple months after, they announced the Gatherings program. And I was like, well, I don't have any gay friends, so don't have anyone to start a gathering with.
And what's the gathering?
Gathering.
I know because I invented it.
It's the best way that I usually explain it is a LGBTQ focused come follow me scripture study group. And so they announced them and I was like, that is exactly the kind of thing that I feel like I should do, but I have no idea where to even start, so I'm not going to do it. And then they got smart and started the directory on the Gather website. And I was like, okay, I'm going to fill this out. I'm going to leave it up for 1 week. And if I don't have anyone reach out, I'm taking my name off. I did my part. And I did it like 10 o'clock at night and woke up to 4 emails.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, people are desperate for a place to gather and have community. And so I started hosting one. Some of my favorite people in the world I've met through gatherings, whether it's one I host or one that I attend. And watching the Gatherings program take off has been one of the coolest things. Because we started with just a couple groups, and now we're at more than 100 in different countries and continents. And it kind of keeps the feeling of the Gather conference all the time. And being able to like actually have discussions where you're not just listening to speakers, but like, a couple months ago, we talked about the armor of God, and hearing my group is a lot of LGBTQ members, but also a lot of parents. And my parents have been there. And so it's been really interesting to hear the ally and parents' perspective on things and then turn around and talk to some of the LGBTQ people. But it's been all of a sudden, it's a huge part of my life because I host one, attend a couple every month. And it's kind of like what you're saying, that we're not in this alone. We have that community.
Yeah. And that's why it's called Gather, because we're here to gather together, and no one should do this alone. This is why, like, the point of this is to build community with people who want to build their faith in Christ and also learn to love themselves and the LGBTQ people in their lives. Yeah. Is there anything else you two want to share that you haven't gotten to? Anything else that's been on your heart?
Come together. It's the best thing you can do for yourself, regardless of your situation.
No, I think it's great. I appreciate all that you have done. Just putting yourself out there because if you can do it, others know that they can too. And so they at least know, you've done it,
Hmm. Yeah.
putting yourself out there. So thank you.
I love that. Well, thank you both so much for being here, for sharing your experiences. And I'm so honored that the Gather Conference has been so good for the both of you. And I hope that this episode, your stories inspire more people to come, because there is a lot of isolation and loneliness in this space, and there just doesn't have to be.
Nope.
We
Thank
can
you.
we can do this all together.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thanks so much.